Hi guys, MacMan here. So I'm going to do a short video series on prepping and loading 308 brass. So I bought, a lot of you might have seen the video, I bought a load of 308 brass. It's all once fired. A couple of them I think have been reloaded before, but most of it is one fired. So I bought it from my good friend Greg. So let's see if I can just get that up to focus for you guys to see. So if you guys need any brass, get hold of this guy. I know the website isn't working very well, but he just says phone. Give him a call and he'll sort you out. So Greg does a lot of brass. So I brought this. This is all commercial brass, not military, so it hasn't got the crimp on it. They all have not got crimp on them. So I can just go ahead. So what I normally do is, when I get dirty brass, what I'll do first is I'll take it to one of my presses I call my dirty press, and I'll just push the primers out, clean them, and then start the process. But because this brass is already cleaned, I may as well pop the primers and size them while I'm doing it. So what I tend to do is I have a plastic bowl which I use for my lube bowl. I just get handful of brass and I just cover the bottom of the pan. Let's see if I bring this down. So I cover the bottom of the pan, and I really like the Dylan lube. It's a pump bottle, and I really like this stuff. It's not expensive and it lasts a long time. So what I tend to do is I'll put it in my plastic bowl. I'll do a couple of sprays and I toss it. And then a couple of little sprays again. And there you go. So that's how I lube my brass. And to be honest with you guys, I never have any issues. I probably had 1 or 2 stuck cases in dyes in 8 years. I don't get the issue with them sticking. So that's how I go about it. So I use the Dylan lube in a pan, toss them around, and let's go over to the press. Okay, so we're over by the press. So this is my RCBS, and I call this my dirty press. So I use this for knocking out primers, sizing, anything where it's gonna be dirty. I keep it away from my presses. So I have a Dylan sizing die in here, and it's just got the smallest of cam overs. Don't need much, but just so it's nice and tight. So we've already lubed the cases. We just drop them in, bring them up, size them, and you can see they're deprimed and now they're sized. And then if you can see this, let's just turn this a bit. So I have a Dylan 308 case gauge. Can drop that straight in there, and you can see it's just below the first level, and the second step, I don't know if you can see that, the second step in there, it's just above the second step. So it's a perfect size. So like I said, it's just below the outside ring, but it's above the inside slice. And they're coming through. Some of these are going to need trimming, but this one is probably just about perfect. So I don't tend to check every single one. Let's move this back just a touch. I tend to check if they feel a little bit stiffer or a little bit more tight sizing. I will check them in the gauge. But a lot of these go through. That one's was a little bit stiffer, so I'll just pull it out. I got my gauge there, and you can see it's perfect. It's below the top, just above the bottom one. Pop them out, and I have another basket back there where I throw my other brass into. So you can see it's just an easy process on one of these. on one of these presses, pops the primers, it's sizing all the brass. And because I bought this brass and I haven't actually fired it in one of my rifles, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with precision on this one. I'm not going to neck size it, so all I need to do is size it and then get it out and shoot it and fire form it in my rifle. And then the next time we go to size and everything, what I'll do is I'll just pop the primers out, because they'll come back from the range dirty. We'll pop the primers out, clean the pockets, the primer pockets, and then I give them a good clean. I'll dry tumble them, give them a nice clean, bring them back to the bench, lube them up, and I'll just neck size them and then bump the shoulders, because they've been fire formed to my rifle. Before that, I will anneal them. Being I've got the annealer here, I'll get these annealed. But for, like I said, because I bought this brass and it's just going to be plinking brass for my AR-10, I just need to get them sized, loaded, shot, and once they're fire formed, I'm good to go. I'll just have to set them up for my dies then when I do a bit more precision on them next time. So again, we're just below the outer ring, above the slice ring. You look underneath, and that one's not going to need trimming, but I go through and I'll measure them with a gauge. So let me just go through and finish these guys. Okay, so we just got a few more to do just to finish off this batch of 308. So like I said, we're just popping the primers and sizing them back to factory spec or SAMI spec. So we've got them done. Again, you can see they pop into the shell holder, into the case gauge. That one, oh no, it's fine, it's gone in. So it's just below the outer ring, and it's above the inner slice. Just pull this off here a second. So you can see, this is why I call it my dirty press for cleaning, for depriming. You can see all the primers come out, you get all the dirt coming out and the dust and the muck. So like I said, I just use this press, which is the RCVS press. So I just use this one for depriming. If I need to pull bullets, if I need to do anything, that's my dirty press. You see, there's my bowl empty. So there's the batch of 308s. So these are all done, these are all sized, all deprimed. So the next stage, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and clean them, and it'll be done in a dry tumbler. So that'll be the next video we watch, so we get that done next. So guys, you saw the first few stages of prepping my 308 brass. So it came cleaned, so all I've done is that we lubed it, we sized it, we deprimed it. So the cases at the moment are a bit oily, they feel a little bit sticky and tacky after lubing them. So it's going to come that we need to clean them before we get on to the next stage. So I like to use the Dillon large vibratory cleaner. So this will take all those pieces of brass, no problem at all. So all I do is we can just dump them in. Give them a bit of a shake, get them down a little bit. And then I've started using this Lucas gunmetal polish. A lot of the guys on YouTube and on the forums have been using this stuff, and it's really good. I do like the Dillon polish as well. I like the Dillon lube and the Dillon polish, but this one seems to work very well. So all I do is I put a little bit in there. Get rid of that cap. I put a little bit in there and make sure the shells aren't on top of the center mount. We can drop the lid back on. Excuse me while I get that lined up. Drop the lid back on, and I don't run my tumbler in my loading room anymore. One, it's noisy, and the main reason is it's dusty and dirty. So what I tend to do is I'll load it in my garage where my wife keeps the car, and we'll run it out here, because all the grime and grit that comes off the shells, you don't really want to be breathing that in. So I've started bringing it out. I either run it outside or I'll run it in the garage, so it's not in my loading room, and we can just flick it on. So that starts up loud. Once it settles down and the shell drop into the media, it gets a bit quieter. Because this brass wasn't too dirty, it was nice and clean when I started, and all it is it's got lube on it. I'm still going to run it for about 2 hours. So after 2 hours we come back, separate it, and it will go ready for the next stage. Thanks guys. We'll catch you a bit later when we do the next section. Okay, so this brass has been tumbling for about 2, maybe 3 hours. So, like I said, this is out of my other garage, so I don't have to get any of the dust or anything in my loading room. So I use the Dillon media separator, and just set that in there, and then just tip it out slowly. Of pieces fallen through. Let's just see if we can get them out quickly before we separate this stuff up. Put them in there. It's gonna get a bit noisy, guys. I run through it once like that just to get most of the media out, and I'll put that back into the tumbler. There you go, and I just pop this back in and just run it through again to make sure. So all I do then, I get my basket back out. As you can see the size of it. Tip this back in my basket. The rest of the media go back into the tumbler. Put that aside. Pop the lid on the tumbler so this doesn't blow around the garage. And there you go, guys. So you can see this is all tumbled up. All the oils come off nice and clean. This is ready now to go into the next stage where we're going to clean the pockets up. we're going to measure them, and if any of these need trimming, we'll trim them as well. So let's go on and do that next stage.